And we are live. Welcome to the Thunderblog's NBA season preview for the 2017-2018 season, obviously presented by Thunderblog Sports in conjunction with thirdandgirl.com. And with me is thirdandgirl.com's Emily Anderson. Emily, how are you?
I'm ready. I'm pumped. I've probably been the one spearheading this preview in our household.
Yep.
So I'm ready to go.
Yes, you are indeed. And I'm excited to do this. We've talked about how to get our basketball and hockey coverage in. Didn't really do so successfully in getting an NHL preview, but stay tuned for hockey coverage within the podcast. But yeah, this is our basketball preview, very similarly to our NFL preview when we did that with Matt and Alan about a month plus ago. We're going to do it by division. We're going to go reverse order of where we think these teams are going to end up.
We are.
We can also go in alphabetical order if you don't have them in their specific spots. We'll look at their over-unders, go through that, kind of just break down every team and go from there, then make some playoff picks and so on and so forth. But Emily, we're going to start right with the Northwest Division since you do have them in a certain order.
I don't know what order I have them in.
Yeah, we'll start with your top team.
You know what order I have them in?
What do you have them in?
I have them the order in which they brainstormed out of my head.
Ah, all right. That's right.
The Utah Jazz came out first.
The Utah Jazz came out first.
Interesting.
So tell me a little bit about the Jazz. What are they looking like this season? Obviously missing Gordon Hayward after free agency, but what else has been going on with them since we last saw them in the playoffs?
Yeah, so Gordon Hayward was definitely a big loss for them. I know that they were trying to keep him there. Who wouldn't try and keep him there? But they still have some strong role players. Ricky Rubio, obviously spearheading that. Rudy Gobert, Derek Favors. A big loss for them in this preseason is Dante Exum, who, after missing the 15-16 season with an ACL, has the separated left shoulder and could once again miss this entire season. Yeah,
that's it's not fun to see by any means.
We in Philadelphia know about injured and missing entire seasons, so I have sympathy for the Utah Jazz fans.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting too to see how they bounce back from missing Hayward, because they have a couple different ways that they could have attacked it, and Hayward would be the backup there. Apologies if you can hear those motorcycles in our neighborhood flying through, but that was a thing. But they have Gobert and Derek Favors as sort of a twin towers approach. They also good guards. Ricky Rubio's in there. I forgot he went over to Utah before I started doing a little research. But Hayward was always kind of that fall point. And now that it isn't really there for them, so we'll see how they go. They are somewhat deep in terms of their bench, so they have that to go forth.
Yeah, they have a lot of players, good players. I think that in their mind, their plan was to build around Hayward as their star, as the face of their franchise, and now he's gone. So it's kind of like, will Rubio take up that mantle? Like, who is going to come and be the face of the Utah Jazz, own that city, be that person that leads the team to either another playoff berth or to not a playoff berth if they can't find a leader.
Yeah, so kind of getting right onto it. Their over-under wins I have at 40.5, which that number itself has not traditionally been a Western Conference playoff berth. It's been an East.
Definitely East.
It could potentially be a playoff berth going forward, but we'll talk about that, I'm sure, in a little bit. The news that Adam Silver announced the other day. But 40.5, I could see them. I could see them being right around 40, maybe 38 wins. I'm going to go under there.
Yeah, I would take the under as well. When I was looking at the West versus East and trying to pick my teams that I thought would make the playoffs, I didn't pick them. So they don't have a good, strong rookie class from what they had the 13th pick in the draft. They took Donovan Mitchell from Louisville, so they don't have that star-making rookie of Dennis Smith, Alonzo Ball, Markelle Fultz, knock on wood. Don't really have that spark. I think the spark is missing in Utah.
They do have Philadelphia favorite Josh Hart, though, so we'll see.
He's a Laker.
Oh, I thought, all right. Well, ESPN is lying to me.
What?
Yeah, they have Josh Hart, Tyler Lydon, Thomas Bryant, Nigel Williams-Goss.
That is true.
Of the Gonzaga.
They might have picked him and traded him. It might have been a pick and trade.
That's very true. It could have been. Well, ESPN failing on this front here. But, yeah, so there's the Utah Jazz for us. Next team that we got for you is Denver, the Nuggets, coming in this year, hoping to kind of bounce back after a wonky year last year. Emily, what's your take on Denver?
I like this Denver team. I think that they're kind of putting all of their eggs in the basket in the roster that they currently have. They gave Gary Harris a 4-year, $84 million extension, which doesn't, with what they paid Mason Plumlee with a deal earlier this summer and the signing of Paul Millsap. Not sure who that is, but they signed him. It doesn't leave them a lot of wiggle room cap-wise to, pick up a big free agent in the upcoming summer. So I think they're kind of saying these are our guys. We're going to develop them. We're going to see what we have with, Emmanuel Mudiay or Jamal Murray, the Joker. Nikola Jokic, I believe.
They also have Will Barton, guy that proved pretty well when he was back with the Trailblazers. Was trading time with CJ. This is before CJ became CJ. But, yeah, he definitely a lot of building blocks there. And I agree with you. I like this team a lot. Kind of have to hope they stay healthy, though, in sort of figuring out what their success is in terms of how they'll do in sort of this clogged – let's say 11 or 12 in the Western Conference and who kind of fills out where. But yeah, I mean, we'll figure out how they look pretty early, I'd say. But I think the injury bug is one to avoid if you're Denver.
Right.
And let's look at their over-unders. Denver's at 45.5.
I think I have like East-itis where all of these numbers just seem way too high. I'm like,
I like this number.
I don't know.
I mean, that's a good point, though. You're playing, we just mentioned, I mean, there's a group of 8 teams that can all be battling for 8 spots that aren't playoff spots, mind you. But I like that number. I'm going to take the over. How about you?
Looking at the West and, keeping the teams in mind that I think will make the playoffs, including the Denver Nuggets, and the way that teams in the West can win, unlike teams in the East, I guess I would have to take the over.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, moving on. Next team that we got, Minnesota Timberwolves. This is going to be an interesting team this year. Returning, a lot of talent. Like we just mentioned, though, with injuries, you got to make sure the big man, Mr. Karl-Anthony Towns, stays healthy, and kind of looks a little better on defense. Is not the best defender.
He's great under the rim. He's great blocking shots and all of that power, but I don't know that he's, a perimeter defender. He wants to block the shots. He wants to swat the ball away.
Well, the team itself, I mean, they were 27th in points allowed per possession last year in Tibbs' first year with the team.
How happy is Jimmy to be back with Tibbs?
Oh, he's got to be.
He's so happy.
Oh, my God, he's got to be. This is going to be a fun team. Jimmy Butler, Andrew Wiggins, Jeff Teague, all can shoot the shit out of the ball. Karl-Anthony Towns loves to swat away the ball. And a lot of other versatility within this lineup. Very dynamic on how you can set it up. They're a team that you might also be seeing, maybe trying to figure out some trades. I mean, not sure. The NBA trade deadline, along with the NHL trade deadline, have sort of fallen from what they once were, and the offseason has certainly taken over for that. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm pretty excited to see how this team can go. I think pretty optimistic on hopefully a down year for injuries, sell injuries if we're going to do a little stock market game and buy Minnesota stock, I'd say.
Yeah, I think that the addition of Jimmy Butler to this team, I'm hoping that his defensive mentality kind of bubbles over onto the team. Andrew Wiggins is not known as a great defender.
No.
But he has the capabilities to be. He's big. He can defend the ball. It's just a matter of effort. It's a matter of mindset. And I'm hoping that Jimmy Butler can bring that to this team. Fun stat fact, that with the addition of Jimmy Butler, the Minnesota Timberwolves are the only team in the NBA besides the Golden State Warriors who have 3 players who averaged 20 points a game last year.
Interesting.
So the offense is there. If Jimmy brings the defense, if his defensive mentality bubbles over to the rest of the team, I think the Timberwolves look great.
Yeah. So according to a couple articles I read, internally they're hoping for a 50-plus win season. Vegas has them at 48.5. A stretch, I'm going to go just under with that.
I'm going to take the over.
And take the over?
I like this. I like the Jimmy Butler edition. I like Jimmy and Tibbs back together. I just like it.
Yeah. You don't really talk about it that much. Everybody kind of thought the Scott Brooks going to the Wizards thing would make a difference on where Kevin Durant ultimately ended up. It didn't. Jimmy coming this way obviously was by way of trade and not through
free
agency. But it's still, you got to figure he kind of gave a little nudge on where he wanted to go. And yeah, he's got to be happy that chemistry, it's important there. But we move on to a team that I wouldn't say is my West team. I'd really just like to focus on the Sixers, but a team that I've paid a lot of attention to in the last 4 years, the Portland Trail Blazers, featuring my classmate from Lehigh, CJ McCollum. They're going to be looking for, I'd say, or at least in trying to figure out how to build that starting lineup around Dame, CJ, Yusuf Nurkic, and
yeah,
really
I think the other 2 spots are kind of like
that's going to be
Evan
by
Turner. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, it's going to be by committee. There's a lot of figuring out what the hell's going on with this team. Yeah, but I'm excited for them. It's always fun to see those 2 get together, and Dame and CJ, one of the better backcourts in the league. Kind of just stinks, though, that small market team, you lose LaMarcus Aldridge a couple of years ago, and you just gotta figure out what you're doing there on defense. They let up a lot of long balls, not much better inside the arc, but if Mr. ET can have a renaissance for them.
Yeah, that being said, those 3 players, like you said, Dame, CJ, and Nurkic, I think that they're poised to make another jump this year in their skill. I think, CJ graduated with you, so he's 27 years old. He's really coming into his maturity now.
He might even be 26. He was young for our year.
That's when these players, they're not boys anymore. They're joining the ranks of men. They're getting that strength back. I read today that Nurkic has dropped 35 pounds in the offseason.
Really?
So he's going to be more mobile, faster.
Okay.
All of that. Also, I think they had a pretty successful draft. They drafted Zach Collins from Gonzaga at number 10, and they also drafted Caleb Swanigan from Purdue, who, from what I was reading at their media day, all of the players said that he was the one that impressed them the most with his work ethic, with the strides that he's made. So look for those 2 rookies to maybe make an impact, maybe not at the beginning of the season, but as the year goes on.
Yeah, the interesting thing with rookies and how we are hopeful here in Philadelphia, but rookies can have a net zero, net negative effect within their impact in the sport. But it'll be interesting to see how Portland goes. Vegas has them at a 42.5 over under. I don't like it, unfortunately, for as excited as I am to watch those 2 get together. I think they finished just under 500, so I'm going to take the under.
I think what we're going to find is, as we're doing these over-unders, I'm going to take the over on everyone, and it's just not going to be mathematically possible for me to be right. But I think I'd take under on that one too.
Okay. All right. Any particular reason, or just similarly to me?
Just because I feel like I'm going to pick the over on a lot of these other teams, and I need to pick the under on someone.
Okay. All right. So rounding out the
Northwest.
I almost said the American League East because I'm looking at baseball scores. Rounding out the Northwest Division, we have
I said East.
the Yankees just scored a run.
The wine's getting to me, guys.
All right. The Oklahoma City Thunder, a lot of big moves in the offseason, and it's going to be interesting to see how those moves pay off for them.
I am so excited to watch this team play, just because I don't know if it's going to be amazing or it's going to implode. And either one I'm really excited to watch.
Yeah, I'm a big believer that at some point Russ is going to punch Carmelo or Melo is going to punch Russ. One is going to happen. Hopefully it's in a game so we get like just all the video evidence of it and not some like, oh, closed door player fight type bullshit. But I mean, I think it'd be if these guys can get along, because like everybody was really, really critical on what's going to happen with CP3 and James Harden, which we'll get to. This is that on steroids. What everybody's fearing about those two, that's what these two are. Insert like Barry Bonds, Jose Canseco. Exactly, Jose Canseco level like craziness, steroid. Yeah,
not steroids.
Well, I'm saying steroids in terms of just blowing up the situation. Not,
we're not accusing anyone.
We're not accusing anybody of taking performance-enhancing drugs. We're talking about the situation itself. That's using performance-enhancing drugs. No players, situation. Anyway, I think it's good. I mean, we could see a lot of news of closed-door player meetings trying to figure out what the hell is going on. I mean, who knows what Paul George is going to think? We're not even talking about him, and he was their original big deal up until about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and just to I feel like we almost got ahead of ourselves to set it up. The Thunder got Paul George and Carmelo Anthony in this offseason, as we've kind of alluded to. Yeah. But both of these trades, well, Paul George wasn't a trade, was he? It's a free agent signing.
I believe free agent signing.
Maybe a trade. Relevant. Did anyone see them coming? No. I just remember looking and seeing Paul George going to OKC, and I was like, that was not an option.
I remember watching college football 2 weeks ago and seeing Carmelo Anthony to the Thunder. I remember being kind of shocked, but it was kind of like, oh, yeah.
But all we had heard was, Carmelo only will go to Cleveland to play with LeBron, or he'll go to Houston. Like, OKC was not on the table, and OKC was also not on the table in all the hypothetical Paul George signings. It was always, he wants to go out to – I think it was a trade because he's going to L.A. in a year.
Yeah, you're right. It is a trade, yeah.
He wants to go to L.A. OKC was not on the table. And these trades that they made for these guys are incredible.
Yeah.
I don't have them in front, but they literally turn dust into gold.
Yeah.
So if these three guys can play together and Russ can learn to share the ball, I mean, granted, he didn't have a strong supporting cast last year to share the ball with in his quest for triple-double domination. But if he can share the ball, I really am super excited about the Thunder.
Yeah, I mean, that's not to say that they're not going to be a great team. I think the internal struggles are going to be there, but these guys, they're good basketball players, and they want to win. And you saw Russ and KD many times, and they hated each other. I think you figure out some stuff, and I don't know if they necessarily make a good pass at the Warriors, but I think you might be seeing them teetering at two seed.
I mean,
it's possible. It depends really on
Western Conference Finals.
That's what I'm getting at, because you're either a 2 or a 3 seed. I don't think they're the 4, so you don't have to face Golden State until the Western Conference Finals. So I could certainly see that happening. And
I mean, they have some strong, supporting cast. I'm a big Steven Adams fan.
Yeah, Steven Adams will be fun.
I love him.
He's gonna be fun.
Jeremy Grant, ex-Sixer, is on that team. So I don't know. We'll see. What's the over-under, Jordy?
All right, so the over-under for the Oklahoma City Thunder is 51.5.
That's high.
And that's a number.
What?
Well, it's a good number.
It is a number.
Yeah, you're right. It is a number. The conviction that you say it with, it implies that it's a number. Anyway, 51.5, you're right. It's almost spot on of where you think they might be, because it's really unproven, especially compared to the teams that are also in that 50 and above category. I'm going to take the under cautiously, thinking that 50 might be the winner, but I don't know if they could blow up. And
I'm taking the over.
I'm take the over.
In on this. It's not like Paul George and Carmelo Anthony signed in OKC not knowing what they were getting into with Russ. Yeah. They've seen Russ play. They know how he plays. I have to think there were some discussions about the play with the three of them before they all signed. So I'm in on it. I'm taking the over.
All right.
The Thunder are riding to the Western Conference Finals.
All right. Some early playoff previews.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Hot takes.
Hot takes. Let's move divisions. Let's go to the Pacific.
I thought of the Phoenix Suns first.
Thought of the only team that's not in the state of California. So interesting there. All right, Phoenix. Let's
We don't have a lot on Phoenix.
Yeah, let's take a look at There's not a lot.
They've got Devin Booker.
They got Devin Booker. They got Phoenix. Hold on. They've got.
This is great radio.
They got Dragon.
Dragon.
Yeah. Josh Jackson. They got Eric Bledsoe. They got Jared Dudley, Tyson Chandler. Remember him? But I mean, yeah, it's not going to be a fun season for them. It's going to be. Yeah. This division's not going to be a very fun one to watch. But where give them their fair due, they could be battling around with the Lakers and the Kings for the bottom of that barrel. Say what you will, what you think the LA Lakers can do. It's not going to be an exciting season. We'll get to them in a few minutes. But yeah, I mean, we got to just figure out how, or if you're Phoenix, rather, you got to figure out how all of your guys can work together, can kind of get it together, and kind of just wait it out until next year. There's not much else that you can say.
Yeah, I like Devin Booker. I like him as a person. I like him as a player. But I think Josh Jackson is a good addition to this team, but it's just another young player, like besides Tyson Chandler, who is a vet that can kind of give these young guys leadership, but not really like he's going to be like, it's going to be leadership on the court. Like, look at me kind of take this over and dominate. And like, this is how you gut it out and win, because like, he's just really old.
Yeah.
But kind of, I mean, locker room leadership, this is what it's like to be in the NBA. All of that, it's great. But I think we're a few years away from the Suns really making playoff berths
getting it
together.
Yeah.
But I do like the pieces they're putting together. I do like Josh Jackson. Like I said, Devin Booker. I think Eric Bledsoe might be gone soon. I think if there's a trade coming, I think he's the trade chip that they use.
Well, yeah, I think that's definitely where this team gets exciting during the season is who needs a player like Bledsoe and what kind of deals are we throwing Phoenix's way?
Right.
Because really what you have to remember is that because of how everything comes together, you could wait until draft day to figure out something and kind of continue to let that value rise or that need come into its own. But we'll see how it goes for him. Phoenix over under at 28.5.
Under.
Yeah, I think it's a hard under. I think a lot of teams in this division, as we'll get to, really kind of overestimated for Vegas. It's funny, there's no one below 20.
Interesting.
Yeah, on the over-unders here. But we'll see how it goes, But on to the next team. Who'd you have after Phoenix?
The Sacramento Kings.
All right, another team that we were just talking about. Not going to be very exciting for them this year.
I like the Kings. I think I've always kind of had a soft spot in my heart for Kings because I'm a big Boogie fan. I know he's obviously not there anymore, but I kind of peripherally kept watch over the Kings. And I like their draft. They're just really young. They have 7 first-round picks on their team from the past 2 drafts. Can you name them?
I probably cannot.
You can even look at a roster.
I probably can't. You want to tell me who they are?
I will. So De'Aaron Fox.
Yep.
Harry Giles, who he's out until January, but it's kind of like can't think of another sports equivalent, but you're buying low and you're hoping to sell high. Like Harry Giles, he's hurt, but he was once the top high school prospect in the nation. So like if he can get well and if he can be what his ceiling is, like these are great pickups.
The ceiling is the floor.
The ceiling is the floor. They also drafted Justin Jackson. He went to North Carolina, so that works. Another first rounder.
For those that didn't get the quote before.
Yeah. Buddy, Labassiere, Malachi Richardson, George Papagiannis. Like they have so much young talent on this team. They added George Hill, kind of a veteran presence. The problem with the Kings is
and Vince Carter.
And the problem with the Kings is not Vince Carter, but if these young guys don't step up in any way,
they're
really old. They have Vince Carter, they have Zach Randolph, they have George Hill. Their average age is like 34. they need these young guys, but I'm really high on De'Aaron Fox. From the clips I've seen in preseason, he was promised. He looks to be, a really mature player on and off the court, and I'm really excited to see how his career goes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see it. I think they're probably a couple years from really very similar to Phoenix.
But I'm more excited about the Kings than Phoenix. I'm more excited about their future.
Well, they have just so, like you said, 7 people
There's
from
so much.
Yeah, a ton of youth, and likely you're going to be replacing those old guys pretty quickly because of retirement, other than anything. And we'll see if they can go out, get some other guys once this all happens. But again, kind of like with Phoenix, it'll be a long season for them in figuring out everything. You might be able to see them. They have the same over-under as the Suns at 28.5 wins. You might be able to see them hit that over. I'm going to still take the under just because of how good the West really is. Somebody's got to lose. It's got to come out to a net zero. And I think the Kings are a big contributor to that.
Yeah, I would take the under as well. So I guess my excitement kind of is coming from, let's see what these young guys can do. But I just think that there's a lot in the Kings organization, and it would be really ironic if, since we've just stolen so much from the Kings, if they kind of, take a Philly approach and they have all these young guys and all these assets and see what we can flip them for. But I just kind of like the chips that they have right now in their basket.
All right. Sure. All right. So next you have the defending champs, the Golden State Warriors, coming in just as good as they have been. They can, you know everything you need to know about the Warriors by just watching highlights last year.
What can I say? Like, they added Swaggy P. That's like a hilarious addition. That's like maybe good for like a couple ejections and like maybe a Snapchat scandal. But other than that, it's really good.
Yeah, and sort of
they're almost boring to talk about.
On the same note of the Snapchat scandals, they only play the Nets twice a year. That's where D'Angelo Russell went.
Yeah.
So, could we potentially see, some West Coast, maybe maybe he tries to sneak his way in to the Warriors locker room.
Who's dating these days?
I don't know. I don't follow too much on the dating scene of a one Nick Young, but we'll like you said, it's almost boring to talk about them. But they have so many different ways to beat you. Basically, pick your poison is basically what they present to you when you play them. Just get ready. You'll see them plenty on TV. If you have to ask to stay up past your bedtime, just make sure you get your homework done. Basically, is what you have to be told.
I'm sure they're playing on Christmas.
Yeah. Oh, I'm almost positive they are.
So.
And then anytime they come to the East, all those Warrior fans, they travel with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in all seriousness, this team is going to be really good. And it's hard to not think of them as the 4-time defending Western Conference champions. I did find in doing some research that only a few teams have done 4 straight conference appearances in a row. And both of the 2 teams in their 4th go-around, it didn't go very well.
Or one of them, Michael Jordan Bulls, although that's the West,
the
East.
No, Michael Jordan's Bulls did not. They did 3 in a row twice. That was their 6th. The Miami Heat with LeBron were demolished by the San Antonio Spurs in 2014, and I don't have the other one that's there. But, yeah, not to say that this team is going to reach there and then all of a sudden they're not going to play good basketball. Because they have so many, like we said, so many different ways to beat you depending on the lineup they build. Kevin Durant, it's his 2nd straight finals. Might be LeBron's 8th or whatever the numbers. And again, I believe it'd be 8 or 9. It'd be 8.
That's insane.
It'd be 8. But still, it's he's not tired, and they're going to cruise pretty well through the regular season. For under interesting because it's set at, if this would load it, I believe 62.5 for them. They're the only team that's above 60, and You're going to see a few teams hit 60 wins. I'm not saying the Warriors hit 70 again. 67.5 is the number, which I'm going to take the under on. Simply just because they're not – I mean, they can take advantage of resting some people. They're probably going to win like 65 games, and that's all they really need. Take the LeBron approach and just get into the playoffs and dominate people there. You'll probably still get the 1 seed. But – yeah, I mean, that's really all we can say that you haven't seen already in the Golden State Warriors.
Do you have the number of what was their record last year? Do you have it?
Record last year, if you give me a second, I can pull it up.
I think while you look that up, I think I'm also going to take the under. This team is really good, don't get me wrong, and I think they're going to win the West and potentially another title.
They won 67 games last year.
67 games last year. So, these teams, they can sustain it for now, but if they want to sustain it for a long period of time, like you said, there's going to need to be rest involved. Like, people aren't getting younger, they're getting older. Not that this team is old, but just for longevity purposes. I think Steve Kerr is a smart coach. I think that he knows these things, so I could see them taking more of a LeBron approach. I can see the masses freaking out because they're resting players in big games and people travel, and that's all terrible, but they want to win titles, and I also would take the under just for, rest purposes and purposes of playing to win the title versus playing to win games in the regular season.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you just count the rings. It's not count the wins.
Yeah.
But moving on, another team that we got in this division, probably the only other playoff team in it.
I do not have this team making the playoffs.
Really? All right, the Los Angeles Clippers. Let's get your take on it, Emily.
I think that the loss of Chris Paul for the Clippers is going to be more detrimental to their play than people think.
Okay.
Like, who is the Clippers point guard now?
It's going to be Patrick Beverley.
I do like Pat Beverley. I do like him a lot. But I don't know that at this point, when coming into a new team, Chris Paul had been there so long, there was a chemistry that he's going to be able to take up that leadership mantle right away. I think I'm in the minority. I don't get DeAndre Jordan. I don't think he's very good. I love to laugh at him making free throws. Like, you're a professional basketball player. Learn to make a free throw.
Okay.
It's not that hard. I can make a free throw, and you cannot. $1 gazillion a year.
Mm-hmm.
It'll just be interesting to see, if Blake Griffin can step up and kind of take leadership of this team. And from what I've seen of him, and that weird thing with punching the equipment manager, it's are you ready to take the role of the leader of this team? That doesn't say leader to me. And I just think that they're going to kind of flounder without Chris Paul there, and they're not going to know what to do. And I'm just going to laugh at Austin Rivers not listening to his dad, because that's also laughable that there's a person who plays that should not be really playing, could arguably not be playing professional basketball, who plays for a team and gets minutes, and his dad is the coach. That's the kind of stuff that you hear in high school and AAU basketball.
That's why people hate LeVar Ball.
It's just so silly.
Yeah.
And I think that you're going to kind of see what happens to the Clippers without the leadership of Chris Paul, and I don't think that it's going to go well for them. I could be very wrong.
All right, so a couple things.
And they lost JJ Redick.
That's true. A lot of this assumes that they're healthy. But given that, in 342 minutes that Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan played without Chris Paul last year, they actually outscored their opponents by almost 5 points per 100 possessions. Now, granted, JJ Redick is somebody that you just mentioned. A few other players that were part of that. It's not just the two of them, getting all of this done. It's something that you got to look at. I think health is their biggest thing. I'm again bullish on the health, cell injuries. So I think they could make a run at the 8th seed. That being said, their over-under is set at the Sports Illustrated article is being slow to loading.
While that's loading, to follow up on what you said, when, Blake and DeAndre have played together without Chris Paul and they, were +5. I don't know that I'm talking about Chris Paul on the court. I'm just kind of talking about Chris Paul as a presence in the locker room on the team. I think that there's, he has a sort of power and leadership about him. Like he's the head of the NBA Players Association. Like he's a well-respected player. He's a leader amongst them, and you're losing that presence.
Sure, absolutely.
And also, everyone for a while was saying the Clippers, this is their year, this is their year. But now I think they're on their year is not them getting the 8 seed. Like there was always talk of the Clippers, like, maybe challenging the Warriors a few years ago, but now it's like maybe they'll sneak in and get the 8 seed. Like they're clearly on the decline. They lost Chris Paul. So like, that's like the first, shoe to fall. And I think it's just going to kind of tumble after.
Sure. And their over-under is set at 43.5. So it kind of speaks into what you're just saying, that they're certainly not looking to be a serious contender, a viable contender within this division. I don't like them to hit it. So I think even with me saying that they might be the 8 seed, that even puts it on the hot seat to try to even get there. But I am going to go with the under for them on that.
I'll take the under too. I think they're like a 500 team.
Yeah, I could see them being 500. I could see them being under 500, frankly. Kind of looking at everything. But we move over to the Lakers, the other team in the Staples Center, who are midst of a rebuild.
I literally, in my notes for the Lakers, I only have the names of the players that they drafted.
Okay.
Like, who was on the Lakers besides these players? Who was on the Lakers besides Lonzo Ball? Like, I mean, Brandon Ingram.
Julius Randle.
All right. So there's some people. But, like, if that's what people think is your rookie and that's it. And, I mean, I'd like to think that I followed the NBA fairly closely.
Mm-hmm.
And if pressed, I could probably come up with some people. But I think that's saying something. That being said, I do think it's the start of the rebuild. If Lonzo is all he's cracked up to be, I think good start to a rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I just want to see the Lakers be bad forever because I think it's funny. But that's a personal preference.
That's how you really feel.
That's a personal preference.
All right.
And not like a statistical preference.
Okay.
But that's what I've got.
Yeah, Lakers over under. I think it's an easy under 32.5.
I take the under. Lonzo's not going to win them that many games.
Not at all. That's the public, if they do love the Ball family, is helping to raise that number.
Speaking of the Ball family, how about him taking which one? LaMelo? Is it?
Yeah, LaMelo out of high school.
Is going to be homeschooled now.
Yeah.
Just silly. LeVar is silly. There is an article on Lonzo that I have not read on the Bleacher Report magazine that I would like to read because I think that Lonzo's a good kid. And I think that he kind of gets hidden. It's sad that Lonzo is the second pick in the NBA draft and he's kind of shadowed by his father. I think that's sad.
It is sad, and he acknowledges it.
And I think LeVar is a good dad. I just think it's all too much. But that's not really what we're talking about here. But
yeah. All right. Moving divisions.
Sorry.
Over to the Southwest, we start with the Houston Rockets. We already alluded to the pickup of Chris Paul from the Clippers. And I like that duo. I think they're actually going to do pretty well. I'm excited to watch them play.
Not according to those Madden commercials. They seem to be a little bit testy with each other.
I haven't played intense online Madden with people before.
I kid. But I also think that it's good. Neither of their personalities scream like overbearing to me in the way that, maybe like we were talking about Russ and Carmelo, like that they would clash.
Yeah.
It will be interesting because last year James Harden pretty much played the point.
Yeah.
I think he was listed as a forward and, all this stuff. But he was like Ben Simmons playing point.
Yeah.
But this year, Chris is definitely playing the point.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see like how he shifts back into his natural position, and how that goes for him, like kind of not being the on-the-ball leader. But I think I agree with you that I think it will go well. It might take a little bit getting used to, but Mike D'Antoni's a great coach.
Sure.
And I think that they, once again, like these are really smart guys, and they don't go into these trades and these unions of these big star players blindly. You know, they have discussions about how it's going to work. And I don't think James Harden or Chris Paul or their agents or Mike D'Antoni are dumb. So I think that they have a plan of how it's going to work together.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think just the big question for them is kind of how they build the team.
Like who else is on the Rockets?
Yeah, that's a great question. Trevor Ariza is still hanging around there. It's a little bit older. PJ Tucker, Eric Gordon, Troy Williams. So you got some people you could slot in and out of the lineup. I don't want to mispronounce Matamute. No, I'm not
Luke Mambamute?
Yes.
Big JoJo. He's a big JoJo fan.
Yeah.
We can thank him for JoJo. You know that, right?
I'm sure. Yeah.
That's how JoJo got into basketball. He went to his camp.
Ah, okay. That's good to know. I did not realize that. But, yeah, so they got people they can kind of put in and out of the lineup and figure it out from there. It's just
the success of the Rockets depends on the success of James Harden and Chris Paul together.
It does, and really looking forward beyond that, it kind of depends on where do they ultimately fall seeding-wise and how long can you stave off having to play the Warriors is really what it boils down to.
Right.
But moving on,
What's
next
the over-under?
Oh, yeah, the over-under, great question. The over-under for the Houston Rockets, 54.5 wins. I like that number. I'm going to go the over for them. I'm optimistic on the Houston Rockets. I think they can get that done.
What did they win last year?
Last year, the Houston Rockets went 55-27.
Then I'm definitely taking the over. I think they'll be better than they were last year.
Yeah. Well, moving on. We have the Memphis Grizzlies.
One of the two teams that I forgot when listing teams. I literally saw them play basketball on Wednesday, but I forgot them.
That's all right, though. But they come into this year kind of a new look Memphis Grizzlies squad. You have Mike Conley and Marc Gasol still hanging around, but you lose Tony Allen, Zach Randolph, Vince Carter, and you replace them with Ben McLemore, Tariq Evans, Mario Chalmers, who's coming off an Achilles tear, and then some, as Zach Lowe puts, some dudes who won't play, young
Chandler
dudes.
Parsons.
And then he talks about Chandler Parsons as the hope if he's fully healthy and coming off the bench.
I do not know what the deal with Chandler Parsons is.
Yeah.
Like he will play good in Dallas and then he goes to Memphis and he gets hurt and then it's just posts a bunch of nonsense on social media and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I don't understand. He used to be one of my top 5 crushes, but I really did drop him.
Yeah.
Really dropped him. But I think then the Grizzlies are a really understated team, low-key good team.
Yeah.
I know they're not that low-key, they made
they're
the playoffs
good. They're
last
defensive
year.
stalwart. That's their MO. That's their big way to play.
And that's the thing is they need Mike Conley has this defensive mindset.
Will he be the same as he was last year though?
That's hard.
Yeah.
He was really good last year.
He was really good.
But he almost, for them to take the next step, he needs to be as good as he was last year and take that next step offensively.
Yeah.
With Marc Gasol, these are just really, like I said, understated players. You're in Memphis. There's not the big star, but they're just, both of them are really good basketball players.
Wow. Absolutely.
And, and Zach Randolph definitely helped last year. I was consistently picking Zach Randolph in DraftKings because he put up crazy numbers for me every week.
He's no longer there.
I know. He's on the Kings with all my young Bucks.
Yeah. Doing a little shuffle.
And the other old Bucks.
Yeah, so, it'll be interesting to see how they come in. Surprisingly, their over-unders at 38.5, which I'm going to hammer the over there.
Yeah.
They
also have a great coach.
Yeah, Rick Carlisle is pretty.
That is not the Grizzlies coach, sir. You're on the Mavericks in your head.
Yeah, you're right. I am.
David Fizdale.
Yep, you're right.
Take that for data, David Fizdale.
You're right.
Also, lover of Ben Simmons, David Fizdale. I don't know if anyone saw, but his post-game comments were I hope we don't have to play that for the next 15 years. You will. But
tell him how it is.
Wait till we get to the Sixers. But yeah, they have a great coach. They have this good defensive mindset, and honestly, in my mind, for basketball, if you play defense, anyone can learn how to shoot. Maybe not anyone, but I think defense should come first because it's easier to teach you how to shoot. And I just like this Grizzlies team. They're in Memphis, and like I said, they're understated, but they work hard and they're like a gritty team, and I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and defense certainly gets
no more
gets the job done.
No more Chandler Parsons, Cancun. None of it.
Okay.
Get it out. Okay. Bad juju. Get it out.
All right. Well, moving on.
The bully stick is almost gone.
She's talking about our dog.
We've given her a toy to keep her away, and she's almost eaten it.
So Luna update around 9:00 on Monday night, but moved to the San Antonio Spurs, a team that I think it's not necessarily where they revenge like they were in 2014, but you could see angry Kawhi, I think.
I feel like the Spurs are almost like talking about the Warriors. It's like, what is there to say?
Yeah.
Kawhi is so good. Pop is such a good coach. The Spurs are always going to be good.
Yep.
They didn't add anyone. They didn't lose anyone. They're just going to roll with what they have and just continue to be good. And
hopefully LaMarcus Aldridge just shows up. He's been weird since weird's the wrong word to use, but it hasn't been the LaMarcus Aldridge we saw in Portland since really he got to San Antonio, and he basically just was non-existent in the Western Conference Finals.
I do think that the Spurs are going to have to start kind of thinking about bringing some youth in. Tony Parker is getting up there. He's in the last year of his contract. I'm sure he would love to stay a Spur, but, he's not getting any younger. They lost Tim Duncan, who's, such a not really a presence. I'm sure he's a presence in the locker room. He's not really a presence in the media, but he's, Timmy Duncan.
Yeah.
And I think they need to start thinking about bringing youth in, but, I'm not worried because I'm sure Pop knows this.
Yep.
I'm not telling him anything he doesn't know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And Kawhi is really good.
He is indeed. But let's, for the sake of time, let's move along because, like you said, there's not really too much more to be said.
Quick.
The over-under for the San Antonio Spurs is set at 53.5 over.
Done.
Move on. Dallas Mavericks. This is going to be short because there's not a lot going on there.
I think the Dallas Mavericks' success depends on how fast Dennis Smith Jr. comes out of the gate.
Okay. I think that.
I think,
Do you think that they start to trade more players around? Do you think they flip Nerlens? Do you think they keep him and try to build around him?
I think they flip him. They're being too.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they do. I think they do as well.
They're not being upfront. There's the discrepancy. But I am excited to watch Dennis Smith Jr. play. I know we're trying to speed it up.
No, I was just saying that of.
I know, but we're only on page 2 of my notes, and I have a lot of them. He looks like the best point guard in the draft.
Yep.
From preseason, and I think if he can kind of come out of the gate hot, there's a lot of. Dirk looks, I read this somewhere, like Dirk now looks like when you see other players that you compare to Dirk, but they're not quite as good.
Okay.
But that's where Dirk is now. He's just a little old.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I just think it's going to be.
What's Harrison Barnes doing? Is he going to take control of that team?
There's a lot of question marks that I think we'll see in due time, but I think the Cube's smart guy. He knows that this is nowhere near close to a finished product, and he's going to try to shuffle the deck up a little bit more, if you will. But over-under for the Dallas Mavericks is set at 35.5. I'm taking the under. Yep. All right, so last team in the West, then we move on to the East. New Orleans Pelicans, another team that I think has some question marks around them, just really figuring out how to use Boogie and Anthony Davis together.
Exactly. It's a lot of people want to say this Twin Towers approach, but it seems like at the end of Boogie got traded at the All-Star break last year. Yeah. So they had some time to figure it out. I don't know that they quite figured it out. So it's just kind of a matter of, can they figure that out? They added Rondo in the offseason. So are Rondo and Boogie going to click? They need two of those, either Rondo and AD or Rondo and Boogie, to click and make it work. In New Orleans, I know that New Orleans wants to keep Anthony Davis. He's the face of that franchise. But, how long can a player that good go without, making the playoffs, being on this terribly mediocre team because Anthony Davis is that good. And it's people I almost feel they don't forget it, but it's like easy to overlook because he's not on a good team. But like he's very good. And how long is he going to put up with being on a not good team?
Yeah. No, I agree with you. It'll be interesting to see how everything goes with them. I don't want to look at them in trying to make any serious plays one way or the other in terms of buying or selling. That said, I do think they're floating around, that mid mark for them. They obviously missed the playoffs by about 7 games. I think they get a little closer there. But yeah, I think you can figure out how to get Boogie and Anthony Davis working together. And if you can get Boogie's shot moving with Anthony Davis right up there on the boards and getting him to really be able to slam that ball home and figure it out from there, and the versatility that Anthony Davis has shown in his young career, I think could be a fun team to watch. Not obviously a serious contender. Over-under set at 40.5, though. Yeah, I'm going to go the under
really
as
high.
well. Yeah, they won 34 games last year, so take the under there. Didn't really add too much on top of that, and Rondo's we don't know how long he's going to miss. But let's move. Do you want to give your playoff picks for the West, or do you want to move to the East and come back?
I could just run through them super quick.
Okay.
It's probably obvious based on like who I picked for the over, but I've got the Nuggets, the Timberwolves, the Trailblazers, the Thunder, the Warriors, the Rockets, the Grizzlies, and the Spurs making the playoffs. I think that we'll definitely see Golden State in the Western Conference Finals, and I would have to say, potentially, it's hard to say. I mean, it just all depends on how the season shakes out, obviously. But, you're looking at the top 4 teams. You're looking at the Rockets, the Spurs, the Warriors, and I think OKC, which isn't that much different than last year. I don't think there's a ton of turnover in the West.
No.
I would guess that the Warriors, unless there's, God forbid, not tragic, but season-ending injury. You never know how the season's going to go, but I would put my money on them coming out of the West.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Who wouldn't, honestly?
Yeah, it's pretty easy lock there. But yeah, the not too much difference in terms of picking playoff teams. I mean, we talked about this, that those bottom 4 teams making the playoffs really depend on health and who can get their chemistry going at the right time.
Right.
The Blazers missed the playoffs by a few games, they made the playoffs. Excuse me, they were the 8th seed, but teams like teams like the Nuggets, Pelicans, they weren't terribly close, but they could have gotten it going at the right time. They could have gotten something together. So really, we'll see how it all comes to if teams are dealing as well, those bottom feeders that we touched upon. There's certainly more talent to be sent around, I think, in the West. There's some in the East that could move, but let's move on to the Eastern Conference.
Hold on. So now you can edit this out. That's why I put space. Do you want to do a setup so you can cut it into 2 podcasts?
Yeah, I can do that.
Because I feel like we're an hour. We're looking at a 2-hour podcast.
Yeah.
That's aggressive.
All right, I'm going to take this.
Do it. Do you like my countdown?
Yes.
Well, I feel like it would make it easy for you to edit it.
Yes, thank you. Well, acknowledge the live crowd.
What? Oh, I forgot. I'm glad they heard you saying you're going to the bathroom. It's okay. She's being okay. Or we could just do the East tomorrow.
What would you prefer?
And
I have hockey at 9.
Floor hockey?
Yeah.
So what time would you be home?
What?
What time would you be home?
I'd be home at 10. I'm not staying up until 1 o'clock editing a podcast. We can do this now.
Okay. Then you'll be good.
Do you not want to?
No, I was just going to say goodbye or another treat tomorrow.
Okay. All right.
Good.
Yeah, we don't have any viewers, so it's fine that people are hearing this. But
okay, and you're gonna do like the intro thingy separately.
Yeah, I'll just say we cut. This is the second part. We did it in both. This is the second half. Let me know when you're ready, phone girl.
I'm talking to my dad about bully sticks. I said, it's going, is it cold now?
Yeah.
Good. I said, it's going so well. And my dad goes, they love them. Dogs are so gross. I can just sit here and pet Looney. Come here, buddy. Come here.
All right. Let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready. But
All
let's
right.
not do the Atlantic first. We'll save it for last.
Yeah.
So we can go to the Central.
Start in the Central.
And then the Southeast. And then we'll finish with this.
All right. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We now move on to the Eastern Conference, and we're going to start with the Central Division, continue to work our way from the West to the East by way of the Southeast, so we'll get to them. Central Division, first team that you got on your radar is the Indiana Pacers.
I'm unsure why, because there's like nothing going on there.
Yeah, there's not a ton. They're going to have an interesting team. Is
it interesting?
Give them something. Yeah, they lose, obviously, Paul George. They didn't really get a ton coming back to them. They are going to be looking at the lottery and kind of waiting until next season.
I agree. It will be a good test for Miles Turner, who has all of the tools to be, a star player, but he's young. He's 21, and they're going to kind of look to him to lead this team. And so this is his opportunity to kind of break out and figure it out. But that's a lot to put on a 21-year-old. So I don't know how it's going to go.
No.
But Paul George is a big loss in Indiana.
Huge loss. Yeah, not really too much else to talk about.
Nah.
What else they got?
What's the over-under?
Yeah, looking at the over-under for the Indiana Pacers, it's 30.5 under.
Under.
All right, move on. We've got for you next
Chicago Bulls.
The Chicago Bulls. Had a big Chicago day. Watch the Cubs. We have the Bears on in the background.
We do.
We're up 2-0.
It's a weird score.
Yeah, safety.
The Giants were up 2-0 at one point on Sunday. So
it's true. All right, but Chicago, same story as Indiana.
Yeah, they got
not a lot going on there.
They got Zach LaVine and Chris Dunn in the Jimmy Butler trade, both like young talents. Zach's hurt. From what I read today, he is kind of expected to come back from the ACL around Thanksgiving. They lost Dwayne Wade. I don't know that Dwayne Wade really – I don't want to say he didn't bring a lot to the table, but I don't know. That wasn't the right place for him. They drafted Lauri Markkanen at number 7 from Arizona, so we'll see what he does. But, yeah, we're looking at another lottery team. The Bulls fans hate their team. They love it, but they hate it. They just need to burn it all down and rebuild. I don't know what else to say about them.
There's not really much else to say about them. You kind of hit all the important points there, and we'll see where they end up with the new lottery and how it all goes for them.
What's the over-under?
Over-under is actually an interesting play, 22.5.
Under.
We go under?
I really don't think they're going to be good. They weren't even good last year with Jimmy and Dwayne.
That's true.
So,
right. 22.5 under for both of us. Let's move on. Who do you got next? The Pistons?
The Pistons, the other team that I forgot as I was naming all 30 NBA teams.
Get your notes together.
What?
I said to get your notes together.
To get my notes together. I don't really know. This is what I feel like tells you how I feel about the Pistons. Is the only thing I have to say about the Pistons is about Van Gundy's dog. That's the only story that I have.
Explain.
So they had an empty the shelters day in Detroit, And it got spread on around Facebook that, you know, all these dogs got adopted except this one dog. And the dog was the only one left at the shelter. And obviously I watched this video and cried because I'm a bleeding heart. And we have a rescue dog. And I love all dogs.
Hello, Luna.
That's our dog. And then it came out that Van Gundy saw the story and he adopted the dog. The last dog at the shelter. He came and got him. And there was all these pictures of the dog in a Pistons band in a bandana and like hanging out with Van Gundy. And so like, I like him as a person, but I don't know or care much about his team. And I think that we should just go with the good feeling dog story. And go with the over-under unless you have a lot to say about the Pistons.
All I was going to say, you got to see where Andre Drummond is, if he's healthy. If he plays better, you know, like 2 years ago, Andre Drummond.
Probably when he was dating that girl from Nickelodeon.
Jesus.
That's the other thing I have in my notes about the Pistons. Like, that's how little I pay attention to the Pistons.
Yeah, but I mean, that being said, they could easily be 6, 7 seed in the playoffs. They could do better.
The East is terrible.
Yeah, the East is terrible. So they deserve a little more respect than just a great dog story.
It's a great dog story.
It's a great dog story. But Reggie Jackson, Andre Drummond, do they bounce back? Do they stay healthy? Over-under for them set at 38.5.
Under.
Over.
What?
Yeah.
You're crazy.
No.
You're crazy. We should have kept marks of this and bet something on it.
We could have.
We can listen it back, I guess.
Sure. But I will when I edit, but I probably won't look at these and mark them down. That's why I said short. But moving on.
Cavs.
All right, the Cavs. What do you got for me?
The Cavs are interesting because obviously they're good. They have LeBron. Any team with LeBron on them is good.
Yep.
They added Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade is a great basketball player. They lost Kyrie. And it will be interesting to see how they play without Kyrie. Like, there hasn't been a second coming of the Cavs without Kyrie and LeBron. And do you think the Cavs become much less fun to watch without him?
Interesting question, because he's a part of that. He's a part of how that team, that makeup, and I think to start, yes, because we're not getting Dwayne Wade, Miami Dwayne Wade that we had with LeBron down there. You're getting Derrick Rose, who, you know, really what's the deal with him until, you know, with this Cavaliers team? Does he somehow play well? Is this that slight renaissance we had a couple years ago, Derrick Rose? Really, this is all a question until Isaiah Thomas comes back and is able to play with them. And until then, I think they won't. It's not that they won't necessarily be fun to watch. They're still going to be intriguing, and it'll be more interesting to see how much they care about the first half of the season and getting it all together, because we've seen, and we talked about this before, LeBron just needs to get into the playoffs and he
can take over.
He does his thing. Yeah. He basically sees the regular season as this way to just make sure his muscles don't cramp up, which we've seen before.
It's just like a stretching, like a light jog.
It's a jog, as they say. But yeah, not necessarily that they'll be less exciting. It's different. It's going to be a different Cavaliers team and a different squad to figure out. But
that being said, and I do agree with you, and I think the Cavs are, I mean, obviously they're good. They have LeBron, but without Kyrie, I think that there's some room for other teams to kind of come up in the East and maybe, you know, win the Eastern Conference. Like, I don't know that I would
regular season. Or do you mean?
No, I mean the Eastern Conference. I mean, I wouldn't hand the Eastern Conference to the Cavs like I would the West to the Warriors.
Okay.
I think, you know, there's something there with the Celtics, and I think that there's a couple. I mean, I'm not to like bury the lead, but like I really think that I really like the Wizards, and I don't know that I would just like hand the East to the Cavs like I would have in the past with Kyrie and LeBron, like two like top 10 players.
Yeah, I guess it'll just depend on how we see Isaiah Thomas come to that team.
Isaiah Thomas have a season like he had last year again.
True.
That was like a once in a lifetime season. Like, were people talking about Isaiah Thomas like they were last year 2 years ago? No,
they weren't.
You know, it was a season.
It was
a caps lock season. So
season. You gotta
caps lock season.
You gotta say it.
I said caps lock.
Let them use their ears, not their minds. Over under for the Cavaliers set at 54.5. I'm gonna go over.
The East is so terrible, and they play the East the most.
I'm gonna go over as well. But yeah, East is bad. I think with LeBron even taking days off,
East bad.
They still get it done. All right, moving on from the Cavaliers.
The Bucks.
All right, our good friends, the Milwaukee Bucks.
I just want to have it as a note. When in my notes I have notable players, and I have Giannis, Jabari Parker, and he who shall not be named.
Malcolm Brogdon, for all those unaware of Sixers fans' ire towards him. But yeah, this team actually, the way that they're set up and the way that they could play with a number of different players that you just named, I think they could be exciting.
Giannis is really good. He's like a mini JoJo.
Yeah, I mean, he's the Greek freak, the son of, I believe it's Zeus and Lisa Leslie. It was that Onion article that I found. But
that's funny.
Yeah, well, I mean, this team, they do well. We're not even talking about Chris Middleton, Tony Snell, Thon Maker. Whenever Jabari Parker comes back, you got Delly on the bench.
Out until the All-Star game about.
Is that what it is? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you have Delly on the bench. You have a nice bench going on. So we'll see what Milwaukee can do. We'll see if they all can put it together. Well, can Giannis play? Antetokounmpo. So I like to say his name. But yeah, we'll see them. I think they should make the playoffs. I don't know if they're a serious danger to a team like Cleveland or even to Boston or Washington in terms of where they're at. But yeah, definitely a playoff lock at the very least for them.
Yes.
All right. Over under though, set for them at 46.5.
I'm going to take the under.
I agree.
They won 42 games.
They won 42 games last year, which seemed to be the average. Now there's going to be a couple teams that kind of fall to their fall a little bit, I should say. But we'll see how it goes. Milwaukee though, pencil them in for the playoffs.
Yes.
And you should not be upset by that pick. That does it for the Central. We now move
to the
Southeast, and should be an interesting division, to say the least.
I agree.
Who do you got first on your list?
We got the Wizards. The
All right.
Wizards.
The Wizards.
Bill says.
All right, tell me about the Wizards. What are they looking at?
John Wall, and they got Bradley Beal, and they're both really good.
Yep.
And John Wall is great, actually.
Yep.
I enjoy watching him play basketball.
Okay.
And I think that he's one of those players that has finally kind of figured it out and figured out how to lead a team and has figured out that kind of like LeBron juju where you just take over a game and put it on your back and you win it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only a handful of players in the league that can do that.
Yep.
And John Wall is one of them.
Yep.
So, and I mean, I think that's worth like 10 to 15 games on its own.
I agree. And of course, there's the Bradley Beal shot that sent their series with the Celtics to Game 7 last year.
So good. John Wall on the table.
Bradley Beal from the grave.
So
good. Yeah, I mean, and that backcourt is just great. And what they have going on for them certainly helps them get into a spot where they've basically become the Washington Capitals when the NHL was still 6 divisions. Southeast is just theirs. Lock it up right now. You know it coming in. Them into the playoffs. We'll see kind of depends on where their seating is, but it could be a fun season to watch with them.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying a number of the different players that they have filling out the rest of that starting lineup and their bench certainly help out with that. That supporting cast to that backcourt definitely helps a ton.
Also, just like cool Wizards juju. I don't know why I keep saying that, but
word of the day.
They have added Kara Lawson as their primary TV analyst.
Mm-hmm.
You know, NBA champion, WNBA champion, gold medalist Kara Lawson.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like one of 2 teams in the NBA that like has a female on their analyst staff, which is super cool. And obviously she's knowledgeable. She has a freaking gold medal. Most of these guys in the NBA don't have a gold medal. So I think it's cool. And I'm going to call them out and give them props for it.
Well, you're not calling them out. You're
giving them props. I'm going to acknowledge and give them props for
it. There
you
go.
But the Nets are the other team that have a female NBA analyst. She's like didn't play. She just like went up in the ranks. Also cool. So
very cool.
Props to Wizards. Props to Nets.
All right.
Girl power.
Girl power indeed. Washington comes into the season over under at 48.5. I'm going the over.
I'll go the over too. I really like John Wall.
Yeah. So we'll move on. Who do you got next on your list?
The Magic.
The Orlando Magic. All right.
Do you want to talk about Elfrid Payton's hair? Like,
let's kind of sift for stories. What you got? Anything else said from his hair?
Jonathan Isaac. They drafted him number 6 from Florida State. Could prove to be, a bit of a player.
Okay.
A factor, a spark plug, if you will. But there's not a ton going on in Orlando. They're missing the golden days of the Shaq and the first generation Dwight Howard.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't yet to recapture it. And
they have Bismack.
Bismack beyond. They're not recapturing it this year.
No, they certainly aren't. It's going to be a bit of a longer season for them. I mean, that being said, Orlando won just one more game than the Sixers. And really haven't added a ton.
And the Sixers really have.
Yeah. That being said, the Magic come into the season having won 29 games last year, and 30.5 is their over. Under. You're going to go under.
I'm taking the under.
I'd say they're slightly over.
Really? What have they added?
They haven't added anything.
Is he going to win them 2
They haven't added
games?
anything. I do think, though, that some parts of the East kind of fall towards the middle. That gap, not necessarily from the Cavs down closes, or really from a couple other teams, but there's not the top tier has fallen in terms of the number of teams. But we'll get to that after the Magic. Who do you have?
The Charlotte Hornets.
Okay, what do we got on Charlotte?
The Hornets are kind of another kind of low-key underrated team for me. They're just, hanging out there in North Carolina. Kemba's their star, Kemba Walker, but they also have a bunch of role players around them. Frank Kaminsky, Cody Zeller. They added Dwight Howard in the offseason, which could be either like a huge detriment or a huge benefit. I would love to see Dwight kind of figure it out. He had it in Orlando, and then I don't know what happened. I mean, if you read there was a good Sports Illustrated Lee Jenkins article about Dwight, which is, I recommend everyone read it. He kind of lost his way, and maybe Charlotte's where he can find it. Maybe MJ can give him some guidance. That would be cool. They drafted Malik Monk from Kentucky, who I think really fell at 11.
He really did. Yeah.
So that could be a huge get for them. I'm looking at Charlotte to make the playoffs in a weaker East, and I think that, like I said, they're kind of an underrated low-key team, and I'm kind of like interested to see what they do. I don't know if there's any really super exciting storylines, but there's like good, solid players on this team.
No, certainly. And in building that team, we'll see how Kemba does, how he shines, see how Malik Monk does. We'll see what happens once Nick Batum comes back, another guy from that older, or from a couple years ago, Portland team who really had a good spot there. Malik Monk, we'll see how he plays. Michael Carter-Williams, a guy that's on that team and found a bit of a renaissance in Chicago. And
previous rookie of the year.
Previous rookie of the year with the Sixers. The big question is defense and see how they do defensively. But Dwight Howard kind of finds himself. He can certainly help out that way and in that old Orlando Magic Dwight Howard
because
way.
I think that, Howard is a presence in the paint.
Yeah.
He's a huge guy. And I even feel like just him being there has to like kind of bring some trepidation to people who are looking to drive. Like, do I want to drive into that mountain of a human?
That's a 50-cent word.
Thank you. Maybe it'll be on the jury.
Maybe. But over under for the Charlotte Hornets, the team that recently got their history back, or I think they had once they got their name back, is set at 42.5 over.
Under.
Oh.
You don't even need to be 500 to make the playoffs in the East.
You're not having a lot of East teams over 500.
They're not going to be. Just the Sixers. The Sixers are going to win like 60 games. It's fine.
All right. Well, let's lock that in right now.
I'm going to take Thunder on that.
All right. But moving on, I believe we got 2 more Southeast teams before we move on to our Atlantic division. Who do you got first, Atlanta or Miami?
Miami.
All right, Miami. Tell me your story on Miami.
I kind of just like have like a heart story for Miami because I love Hassan Whiteside because he's so funny on Snapchat. He's so funny. Like during the Summer Olympics, like there were he would just Snapchat himself yelling at the TV like in a swim cap, and which makes me really sad the Winter Olympics are during this season because I think he would also love the Winter Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if none of you have seen it, there was like an off-season best of awards article on The Ringer, and they have the full video of Hassan Whiteside's like CSI Miami of this dead bird in his yard. And I watched it at work and I laughed out loud and I recommend it to anyone. But that being said, if we see second half Heat versus first half Heat, because they really came on in the second half, like buoyed by Eric Spoelstra and, came on and they just like killed it in the second half of the season. But the first half of the season, they were terrible. So it's really a matter of, are we going to see first half Miami Heat or second half Miami Heat?
So that's a great question. The Miami Heat have a very, very interesting lineup, as you just said.
They're like volatile. Like what are they going to do?
Very, very volatile. I think you see more like the second half of the season Miami.
Then they're going to be really good.
Yes and no.
Why no?
I don't know. They're just so volatile. The shooting is the big thing for me there.
But I
don't think they can sustain that for a whole season.
I agree. And I guess that goes into volatile because you're like, oh, but the shooting. But I'm like, but when Dion is on, it's like,
when Dion is on.
If Dion is on all season, they're going to win 82 games.
Yeah, that's what a lot of other teams thought about him, too.
Yeah, number 4 in the draft. Yeah. I love Dion. He's a Philly kid. I love him. Also, read his Players Tribune article.
The best thing that Miami has going for it is that they're deep. Their lineup is very deep, so you don't need to necessarily have Dion, Dragic, James Johnson, Justin Winslow, Kelly Olynyk on every single night.
Olynyk is signing in the offseason.
Yeah, it's a big signing. It's good. Add some big size. Add some headbands and some long hair.
More headbands. We need more headbands.
Hopefully they're neon to go with the Miami theme. But yeah, they have depth, and that's huge in this league.
Whiteside's great, and he kills the Sixers. He murders them every year.
Up until last year, that phrase didn't hold any clout. But that being said, Miami, I think you could see a second half team, but there's something that holds me back on saying, make them the 5 seed or the 6 seed and where they go.
What's the over under?
Yeah, the over under for them is set at 42.5. I'm going to go
over.
Slightly.
43 over.
Yep, 43
you
wins.
told me I have to take the over on some people, and I'm really high on the Heat.
Yeah, you might as well. Well, then you should be more than slightly. But I'm not here to correct people. Last team in the Southeast that we have, the Atlanta Hawks.
This is one of those teams where there's really not a
How
ton
the
going
mighty
on.
have fallen.
I don't even need to know the over-under. I'm going to take the under.
Yeah, I don't think they're the worst in the league. I think that title belongs to the Bulls. 27.5, take the under. They're not going to be good. To give them some type of analysis,
I mean,
let's give them their due.
They lost Jeff Teague in the offseason. They drafted John Collins, number 19 from Wake Forest. I don't know that he's making moves either way. Their best player was arrested on misdemeanor battery charges, Dennis Schroeder. So, I mean, Adam Silver has the authority to kind of lay out suspensions and fines if he either is found guilty, pleads no contest, I think. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see him being suspended for maybe like 5 to 10 games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they don't really have a ton going on down there. Like, what else? Like, where are they filling out their roster? Like, who are the players that are filling out their roster for them?
Yep. Yeah, and it's all great. It's all true. To really kind of give them their due. Just the youth could have something good going. That's really all I got on
there's
them.
undrafted people that pop out, or they're, so maybe he does. I don't know.
Yeah, they're a young team that could sprout.
Sprout. That's a good word.
Try to be.
So we both take the under on them.
We both take the under on them.
Figured.
But let's move on to the Atlantic Division.
I'm getting hyped.
Who do you want to talk about first in our division?
Well, since we're going west to best, we're going to save the Sixers for last, obviously. So we can go Nets first.
All right, the Brooklyn Nets.
So the Brooklyn Nets, they added D'Angelo Russell in the offseason, but they lost Brook Lopez, which is rough. They have a pretty okay cast. Jeremy Lin, DeMar Carroll, Timothy Mozgov, Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, all are on the Nets currently.
Crap, Mozgov went to them.
He did indeed.
Yep.
They had a couple. I have not watched Nets preseason, but I've heard good things about Kyle Kuzma, who they might have traded the pick, but they got number 27 from Utah. So I hear he's doing good things. Yeah, the Nets.
Yeah, I mean, you in terms of the player analysis, you can't really say it any better. D'Angelo Russell, I think, could be interesting there.
I do think for D'Angelo Russell,
he's going to be playing a lot of good guards.
Yeah.
A lot more frequently. That's the big thing.
But I do think that he might have a breakout year because I don't know that he was in a great situation in LA.
No,
he wasn't. Think that he's in a better situation here for the Nets and he went number 3 in the draft. 4? It was
number 2.
It was your little Okafor draft. We couldn't get him.
Yeah.
So we took pick 3, so probably 2. So I think this could be a good situation for him, a kind of a breakout year and ability to kind of show what he's got.
Yeah.
Because you don't go number 2 for nothing.
No, it's true. I just think you're playing Isaiah Thomas. I don't know how many times what the frequency is within division in the NBA. Isaiah Thomas, John Wall more times than twice. I think now 3 times out of division. I mean, like just rattle off guards that you play in the East. I mean, say what you will, the guys in Toronto who we'll talk about in a bit, but you're playing them. Playing Markelle Fultz if he gets it together, which we'll get to in a little bit.
Wait, we'll hold it.
Well, I'm just saying that you're playing a lot of good guards.
Yeah.
Around it, but you're right that there are teams in this division.
But it could be an opportunity for him to step up.
It could be. You're absolutely right. He's playing better competition. Better competition, in theory, spurs more improvement. So we could see how he goes. That being said, the Brooklyn Nets over-under comes in set at 26.5. Moving on.
This is such a bad division besides the Celtics.
Who'd you get next?
Really. Okay. The Celtics. We'll go with the Celtics.
We're going to go with the Celtics next. All right, Celtics coming in.
So much movement.
Having moved a lot of pieces around.
They were literally in the Eastern Conference Finals, and then they were like, oh, we're just going to get rid of our whole team. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Basically.
So they lost Isaiah Thomas and Jay Crowder. They added Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. What do you say, Jordy? Is that a net positive, net negative transaction? Say plus Kyrie Gordon minus Isaiah J. What do you say?
I say it's plus on that.
Mm-hmm.
Losing other pieces of that team, probably keep it at a net even.
Okay.
Because they lost other pieces as well. Not as big of names, but they lost other pieces within other trades or free agency and whatnot. They may not want to admit that some of those pieces were valuable, but they were. We'll see how it all goes. A lot of their team, we'll see how Jason Tatum develops in this rookie year.
Fun fact, my parents saw him when they were in Boston.
Did they? That is a fun fact.
I know.
But we'll see how this team goes. You know, they have one of the Morris twins.
Or is it Marquise?
Yeah.
And they just switch places like Parent Trap.
Well, yeah, they have the matching contracts too, so it doesn't even matter. Jaylen Brown, we mentioned Jason Tatum, Marcus Smart, who could have, I mean, he could finally break out and what they've wanted from him, and that kind of in-your-face attitude that he had ever since he was Oklahoma State. But we'll see how it all goes. Gordon Hayward, we talked about before, he can be that keystone to an offense and to a team.
He seems very steady.
Very steady Eddie and
Steady Eddie.
But still, I mean, he can be a piece for that type of team and help them. Even with, I saw Kyrie last week in person. He looked good and he looked sharp. He was still ready to go. I mean, that's the two of them. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good quality.
Do you think there will be some bumps in the road, just kind of winning the fan base over? Because I do know that the city of Boston loved Isaiah Thomas. They kind of
the king in the fourth.
The king in the fourth. They loved him. He's the 60th pick in the draft, and kind of look at what he became. And do you think that there'll be some bumps in the road with him leaving, and them bringing in a first pick in the draft, and then Gordon Hayward and all these other pieces that aren't their people, their homegrown people, which
Thomas wasn't homegrown though.
They picked him. Did they not?
Sacramento Kings picked him.
Did he play for Sacramento?
He did. Sacramento let him walk.
They dumb.
Yeah.
All right. Prove me. I admit I'm wrong.
But they did love him. You're absolutely right that they did love him. That being said, there certainly could be, but you have to almost take the LeBron angle on this. That even if they don't do well to start, or they have some bumps in the road, they're going to get a top 4 seed. There's no doubt about that.
I agree.
They're going to win this division, so they're guaranteed at least a top 4 seed.
Sixers are coming.
Not this year, but they're going to win the division.
Got them circled. We just get to them.
Well, we finish the Celtics.
I'm really
Greg's going to be listening.
Hi, Greg.
He's going to be listening, so we have to appease him because we have baseball later this week. Greg, we love you.
You sound like Daryl Morey, but it's fine.
Keeping it basketball. Always the professional Emily is. That being said, the Celtics, even if they get a bump in the road, I think they'll be fine. They're going to get a top 4 seed. Even if they have to play the Cavs in the second round, if they're the 4 seed, which I highly doubt.
I have a quick question. Even if they don't match in the playoffs, who do you take? Celtics, Wizards? I take Wizards. I love the Wizards.
I still take the Celtics.
You do? Okay.
I do. I still take the Celtics. Over under set at 53.5. I go over.
I go over too.
Yep. All right. So more teams until the Sixers. Do you want to go?
I'm so happy.
Do you want to go Canada or do you want to go Big Apple?
Oh, Canada.
Beautiful singing voice.
Thank you.
The Toronto Raptors, which, fun fact, if you have not read Zach Lowe's big NBA preview, go read at least the Toronto Raptors part. He uses 4 or 5 different nicknames for the Raptors. The Dinos.
The Dinos.
The Dinos, rather. It's spelled Dino. the Raps, the Drakes, the Sixes,
the Toronto Drakes,
the Drakes. Yeah.
True story. I legitimately
This is year 6, which he had to capitalize because the 6.
Yeah. True story though. I have on more than one occasion gone on eBay and tried to buy a Drake Knight Toronto Raptors shirt.
I'm sure that's almost impossible to do.
No, they're there, but they're just like a little pricey for me.
Yeah.
Like I just want like October's very own. Like I just want it.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Anyway, the Raptors, I think, are one of the teams I've alluded to. I think they're bound for a down year. I think that.
Why though?
Granted, it's year 6 of Lowry and DeRozan, so they know how to get it done. They get each other.
Both very good players.
Both very good. Obviously, Kyle Lowry stuck around in Toronto. There was a big rumor he could be coming to Philadelphia, and thankfully didn't.
No, the kid didn't want him.
Yeah. We say that also with our feelings towards the.
If he would have come, I would have been like Kyle Lowry.
The Wildcats.
Oh, truth. Anyways, sorry, Joe Mart.
Yeah, sorry. I doubt he's listening, but if you are, love you, buddy. Anyway, Serge Ibaka, we'll see how he does. They didn't
make a ton of moves.
They didn't make a ton of moves. They basically stayed pat, which it's tough because you almost have to wonder with being in the same conference and play the Cavaliers, is it worth trying to mortgage something to make some league-shattering trade when you have a couple pieces that are already top 15, top 20 players, but you just know that it's not enough.
It's hard. It's like, I'm not going to win, but we're good enough.
Yeah.
Like, is that good enough? And I'm going to hold it, but like, I don't think the Sixers agree with that. And like, that's why I love them. But the Toronto Raptors did draft OG Anunoby, 23rd from Indiana, who I'm not going to say I've watched film, but like I've heard good things. So we'll see what he does. But like you said, they've got Kyle Lowry, they got Serge Ibaka, they got DeMar, they've got Valanciunas. Like, they've got good players, but it's not enough, and it's not going to be enough, like, barring some injury to the Cavs or the Celtics. Like, enough. So, like, congratulations on your 4th place finish in the East.
Yeah, I could see them as the 4. I could even see them a little lower than that. It depends really on how – if some of these teams make miracle runs, me saying the Celtics could be 4 was kind of ludicrous. Probably Celtics, Wizards, Cavs in some order, depending on how many days LeBron decides to take off.
Yeah.
To go watch college football.
Go to the Ohio State game.
Yeah. If Ohio State makes a run, we might not see LeBron from mid-January. But yeah, that being said, I think Toronto could still get 4 pretty easily just because of how big of a drop there is from them to the next man up, if you will, the next team on the block. But I still think, they won 51 games last year. They did get the 3 seed, but I still think they're not poised to make that kind of run again. I mean, they tied LeBron at that 51 win mark, but I don't see them, especially with the Wizards getting better, the Hawks incredibly huge drop off, the Bucks being where they're at, the Pacers dropping off.
The difference is I feel like in the East, okay, you have the Raptors, and I'm like, they cannot challenge the Cavs. They cannot.
No.
And then in the West, though, like, yes, the Warriors are so good, but I could see a situation where Carmelo and Russ and Paul George go off and win 4 of 7. I can see it, and I can see where Harden and Chris Paul like have a meeting of the minds and go off. But like in the East, I do not see that. There's none of that against the Cavs. So like, I almost feel like, yes, the Golden State Warriors are on paper the best team, but like, if I was going to guarantee a finals team, I would guarantee the Cavs because like there just is more talent in the West, and where the East, there's even a meeting of the minds of DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry is not beating LeBron.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
No, I agree with you. That being said, Toronto comes in 47.5. I'm going to take the over.
Yeah.
You have
but it means nothing.
It means nothing.
But I take the over.
I take the over. All right, so last two teams.
The Knicks.
An age-old rivalry. Philadelphia and New York. The Knicks and the Sixers.
We're going to get the best of them.
Playing on New Year's or on Christmas Day.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be great. We're going to start with the New York Knicks. And
who do the Knicks have besides Kristaps Porzingis? Please tell me.
Long season for New York.
Tell me who they have, Jordy.
The New York Knicks. Let's take a look. They come in. They're actually set at 30.5 as their over-under. Yeah, you take the under there. They have added Enes Kanter.
Not a good player.
And Willie Hernangomez.
The thing is, like, the only thing that makes me want to take the over for the Knicks is that they don't realize that tanking is the best situation for them. So they'll, like, try to win games and, like, hit the over when, like, really they should just be losing.
Like the Jets.
Exactly.
Sorry, Jets fans, but we shouldn't be winning 3 games in a row right now.
Like, while we were podcasting, I got a notification that was, like, SC not top 10. Knicks Jarrett Jack launches one of the worst full court heaves you'll ever see.
Good.
What are you doing?
I don't know.
But, like, I don't know that you have this information, but, like, will Porzingis, like, keep in this for the long haul?
Well, he's alluded to things that he wasn't happy about.
Right, like, he didn't show up to his exit meeting. Yeah. But I've also heard comments saying he wants to stay in New York, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, a lot of that, it seems like, was Phil, who's gone.
Thank God for them.
But yeah, thankfully for them.
I don't wish that much pain on you, Knicks fans.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all goes. I mean, if it's just some situation like, ironically, Carmelo in Denver before he got traded, and Denver wasn't even this bad when he was there, so don't get me wrong in any which way, shape, or form, but where he just kind of lasts it out, and then whenever he can hit the free agency market, which is surprising that you're the Knicks and you can't get something like this done.
It's sad, honestly.
It's really sad.
You're the New York Knickerbockers.
Yeah.
Like, you are the team.
Went with the full name to emphasize the point.
I did. Yeah. I was going with the ears and not the mind. Remember, you let them hear it, not think it.
Exactly.
We talked about this earlier.
Yeah. Connect the dots.
But like, is this the worst defensive team in the NBA? Like, who is Enes Kanter playing defense on? Like,
yeah, they're not stopping anybody.
Like, who is Tim Hardaway Jr. playing defense on? Like, these are terrible defensive players. Like, Porzingis making offensive plays, but like, that's literally it.
Yeah. I do find it funny that they're over-under set at 30.5. It's higher than the Bulls. The Bulls aren't going to be good, but take the under here.
Like, I could literally see
if you could leverage this bet, like anybody knows from take a put, from stock trading and whatnot and various different securities trading. Do that. Just get any way that you can double, triple, quadruple your money. Get this leveraged. Get some way to maximize this shit line. 30.5. Porzingis, the unicorn, the Latvian gangbanger, is not taking you above 30 games.
The only thing that keeps me from saying the New York Knicks will be the worst team in the NBA is the fact that the best thing for the New York Knicks is for them to be the worst team in the NBA. And they don't know how to do what's best for them.
Yeah.
That's literally the only thing, is that somehow they will find a way to win more games than they should and not get the first draft pick and not get whoever is like the new unicorn coming out. It's because they just cannot figure it out.
Can't do it right.
Take the under.
Take the under.
Get to my boys. Let's go.
All right. The Sixers. Here we go.
I've been waiting for this for
the process
so
is here.
long.
Markelle Fultz hasn't looked great in the
Not
preseason.
Look great. How are they doing tonight?
They're getting killed by the Celtics.
Again.
Apparently, Markelle Fultz did not look great tonight either.
Oh, I saw he had a decent line.
Well, there's a highlight of a really shitty free throw that he took.
Okay.
Ben Simmons looks great.
You guys, Ben Simmons is like, my man David Fizdale was talking about Ben and was like, I don't want to see him for the next 15 years. Like, this guy is insane. He's insane. He's so fast. Like,
I was about to say, let's talk about how tall he is in relativity to his speed.
Like, he's so fast, and he's like, I don't even know how to put it into words. Like, we saw him live, and it was just incredible to see him, and I cannot wait to go to opening night because I do believe that Joel Embiid will play opening night. Jordy, I need you to focus me. Please focus my thoughts on the Sixers because I cannot do it myself. I have too many emotions.
All right, so it's going to be a fun year. We just have to remember, though.
We drafted Markelle Fultz first from Washington State.
Yep.
There was a trade
From
with the
Washington.
Celtics. Yeah, not State.
Not State.
Ignore that. Oh,
Huskies,
the
not
Sixers
Cougars.
official. The Sixers lost. Hold on. 113-96, but Ben Simmons had 15 points, 6 rebounds, and, which I didn't mention with the Boston Celtics, they drafted Semi Ojeleye, number 37 from SMU, and he had 16 points and 4 rebounds. So that's a good line.
Now that being said,
back to focusing me. Please focus me.
So Ben Simmons looked great.
He's great. He is great.
There's a couple things that you have to think about. Joel Embiid needs to stay healthy. He needs to be healthy to be a big catalyst for this team. He's probably 10 wins. Is that a question?
I have a comment.
Okay.
I'm raising my hand.
She's raising her hand, which is why I'm asking.
I just want to make a comment that, yes, Joel Embiid needs to stay healthy, but I want to make a comment that the injury that sidelined him for the second half of last season was not the same injury that sidelined him for the 2 previous years.
That is true.
It was a knee, not his foot. His foot is fine. There's been no mention of his foot. His foot is fine.
That is true. Knee injuries, those we've seen in basketball and football, to a certain degree in baseball, don't help at all. But that being said, Joel Embiid plays more than half the season. You're going to see a lot of wins from him.
This is the thing. So on the Ringers and at NBA East Over Under podcast, they were like, would you put the number of games that Markelle Fultz, Ben Simmons, and Joel Embiid play combined, like, you know, count each of them at 150? And everyone took the over. And I think that's insane. They took the under, and I think that's insane.
Yeah, that's assuming that each of them plays 50 games
and
on the average. So say that Joel Embiid plays 38 games again next year.
Right.
This year. That means that between the other 2, they need to each play 56 games.
I think that they will easily.
I think it's very easy to do. Markelle Fultz, no real signs of injuries.
No.
In any which way, shape, or
casual.
form.
And I think that they, because of Joe, were overly cautious with Ben last year.
Yep.
And having seen both you and me have seen Ben play in preseason, like, no, there's like
Ben, he doesn't look like he was hurt last year.
He
looks like he played multiple full seasons in the National Basketball Association and does not look like that he has missed a beat from said theoretical multiple seasons.
Ben has no minutes restrictions going into the season like Joel did last year, and I expect Joel to again this year. Not to mention, Joel just got paid a lot of money.
He did get paid a lot of money. And coming into tonight, 5 years, $96 million is the number?
It's like 146.
146?
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
But also, like, I don't, like, Joel is that player that is transcendent. Like, if he can stay healthy.
Well, if he stays healthy, I mean, he's the key. He's what carries them.
If he stays healthy.
Not just a playoff spot, but
to the title.
Eventually. Not this year.
Not
this year. Don't get her excitement confused, ladies and gentlemen.
No, but like in like a healthy Joel Embiid at 28 years old, unstoppable.
Yeah.
Like, if you have not seen Joel Embiid play basketball live and you get the chance to do it, it is incredible the things that this man can do with his body. Like, I'm like foaming at the mouth talking about it. He's incredible.
All right. So as great as Embiid is, let's talk about some other pieces on this team.
Okay, I am qualified to do that.
Fultz, we need
more from him.
We need more from him. He's a rookie guard. Rookie guards are usually not good in their first year.
I mean, I'm willing to let it go because he's old.
Mm-hmm.
And I was stupid and dumb and not mature at 19 years old. And no matter whatever, there are stormtroopers on halftime at Monday Night Football.
They're premiering the new Last Jedi trailer.
Okay.
This is part of that.
I didn't know what's going on.
I got excited. Here it comes. Continue your point.
We'll watch it later.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to let Markelle go because Dirty is convulsive. You look at Ben versus Markelle, and literally the two of them are up for they will be up against each other for Rookie of the Year. But Ben has had a year in the NBA system. He's had a year at the Sixers facility, which is amazing. He's had a year, traveling with the team, like understanding like what goes into an NBA lifestyle. So Ben playing his first games versus Markelle playing his first games are two completely different things. And I'm willing to let Markelle grow because we have these other pieces in place, and I'm really not worried about it.
All right.
I'm not.
So Markelle, we've covered Ben, we've covered JoJo.
Have we covered Ben enough? Markelle loves Chick-fil-A also.
He does.
I do too.
JJ Redick.
Great signing.
A lot of money, but they have the money to spend.
We do because they're so cheap.
Anyway.
I would have to say though that I think the more beneficial signing is Amir Johnson, because on the court, JJ may be, because, he's got the 3-point shooting, and I think he'll space out the defenders great, and, like, on the court. But I think Amir Johnson's going to be really crucial, because although he may play, like, a backup 4 or 5, I'm not really sure they're going to play him yet. JJ has a family, and JJ has a family that's in Brooklyn, and he has already said that, like, he's going to go back and forth, all of these things. Where I haven't heard those things from Amir Johnson. I know that he has a family as well, but I think that he might be more based in Philly, and I know that he's spending a lot of time with these young guys. I've heard Markelle Fultz call him his vet and his OG, and he's teaching him. Amir Johnson was one of the last guys that came out of high school and straight into the NBA. So he knows what it's like to be a really young guy in the NBA and what it's like to play with these men. When you're 19, you're not a man, you're a child. 18-year-old boys, and I'm like, you guys are silly. Like, what are you doing? Like, these are like boys amongst men. Like, Markelle Fultz and LeBron James are on two different physical spectrums, and there takes some getting used to and playing with that. And Amir Johnson is there to kind of bridge that gap. And I think, although he might not start, depending on what the starting lineup is. I know Rashawn Holmes is out for a while. We'll see how Vegan Ja goes. But I think that's
Julia Loca for
Vegan Ja. I think that's super beneficial for them. So I think that JJ on the court and Amir Johnson off the court are both super big signings for the Sixers. Like, I just really like what they're doing right now. I just rambled.
You did. Now that being said, so we covered JJ, we covered Amir. The rest of the starting crew, or the supporting crew, is a former starting crew.
Mm-hmm.
TJ. We love TJ.
We just saw TJ on Saturday.
We did just see him. Nick Stauskas, who might not even make the team.
He's going to make the team.
Hopefully.
Who's going to make the team over him? If you give me that answer, then we'll discuss. But you can't.
Yeah, I can't. But
exactly.
Robert Covington.
Oh!
You love him.
Everyone loves him. He's so good.
He is very good. He's very good.
He had Defensive Player of the Year votes, Robert Covington did.
Yep.
He's incredible.
Do you think his offense stays where it was in the second half of last year?
Yes. There's no reason to think it doesn't.
Inconsistency.
He is a bit inconsistent, but even with the inconsistency, I think that he more than makes up for his value on defense because he's so good defensively.
I'm not disagreeing with you. The defensive value certainly is there, and you can make the argument for him.
That's an undrafted player.
Like, regardless if he's drafted or not, you have to focus on the now. And the now, as it was all of last year, is that he's very good on defense.
What I'm saying is, his defensive skills are worth the money.
Oh, absolutely.
And worth the starting spot. No. That's what I'm saying.
Are you saying you start him? So assuming Embiid's not healthy for opening night, which he might be.
I think he is. I think they're just building.
Is your starting five then? Is it what? Ben, JJ Redick, Robert Covington, Markelle Fultz, and
Amir Johnson.
Amir Johnson, yeah. Amir Johnson / Joel Embiid.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, if he's healthy. I honestly, I would not even be up. The only thing that would put me hesitant to start Teach is the push to Markel's confidence. I think that, that's a big part of it. But I think it might benefit him coming off the bench, kind of seeing the NBA pace game a little bit more. But if it would hurt his confidence to come off the bench, I also don't want to forget or not give time to Dario,
my man,
who should have been Rookie of the Year last year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what anyone says. And he's going to come off the bench this year, which is going to be a new situation for him, but I think he's going to thrive in it because they're not going to skip a beat when they're substituting players. Dario's used to the pace and the skill of that first round of offense, and he's just going to fit in with them seamlessly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to go well.
I think it should go well. Again, health is a big concern. Understandably so.
Health is only a concern for JoJo for me.
That was exactly what I was going to say.
I'm not worried about Ben's foot.
People want to say that because they want. It's not even that they're a hater. Or they're sick of the trust the process stuff. It's more of just the fact that you've seen multiple first-round picks in Philadelphia miss seasons. Whether it's been they didn't want to come over, they didn't want.
Dario's never coming over.
They were hurt, or the training staff did whatever the hell they're doing and whatever the hell they've been doing with not reporting the knee and playing Joel.
They have a new doctor.
That's good. It's very good. I think it goes well. I have them in the playoffs. I have them hitting the over, which is 40.5. I see them as above 500 team in the NBA. Part of the reason why I was picking a lot of overs, the Sixers being at 40.5. I see them as a 7 or 8 seed. I don't really see them much higher than that. So you have to hit the over somewhere around there. I think it's exciting. I'm obviously, don't get me wrong, and trying to play devil's advocate to the lovely third and girl over here.
My extreme excitement.
Her extreme excitement, her season ticket holder bias is coming out in full force. But yeah, you got to look at it as cautious optimism. But if you see these guys in person, if you ever get the chance to, go wherever you are.
Seriously,
if
Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons are healthy, just put this in your head, okay, Jordy? Ready? Yep. Ben is healthy all year. He plays 77 games. He's like Dario last year.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe plays 60 games. So the Sixers win. They win 65 games.
Let's not get that far ahead of ourselves.
They win 55 games.
I think the Sixers cap at 50 games.
Even if Joe plays 60 games.
Even if you play 60 games, I think they cap at 50.
I think Joe can win every game by himself.
But we've also seen the beginning of last year where there was some inconsistency. I love him so much. He hasn't played in a while. We'll see how he comes out this year.
He's the Black Roger Federer.
It's true. I'd love to see him wear the Roger Federer logo, the hat, just the Roger Federer hat, the brand.
All right. All that being said, I'm crazy and obsessed with the Sixers, but like Jordy was saying, if Joel Embiid is healthy and you have not seen him play live, it is worth your money to see him play live because God forbid something happens. We do not know how long Joel Embiid's career is going to be. He's a very large person.
Yeah.
And in the NBA, the history of very large people, the history does not end on their favor. So if you have the opportunity to see this very large human play basketball, you should do it because he's incredible on the court.
You're hitting kind of a point. Most recent that probably comes to most people's mind is Yao Ming.
Mm-hmm.
And it was always just a time bomb to when you heard Yao Ming's out for the season.
Right.
I'm not hoping that on Joel.
No, I know.
I hope he plays a full season.
But it must be very difficult to be that large of a human. Humans are not supposed to be that big.
That being said, we're smarter than we were then. It's like how baseball teams limit their pitchers. They try to protect their arms. You can say whether or not that works. You can listen to the Bullpen Cart, our baseball podcast, to hear more of that. But we'll see how it all goes.
I could ramble about the Sixers for hours, so we should cut me off. Jordan, let's do the over-under. What's the Sixers over-under?
We already said it, 40.5.
Oh.
Hit the over.
Yeah, I think they're going over 500 this year.
I think so, too.
I'm feeling good. I'm really excited.
You're thinking they're winning 70 games.
I'm ready. I'm like, JoJo's going to win 65 games on his own. It's fine. I just want to make a comment that we're watching Monday Night Football. This might go up on Wednesday, but we're watching Monday Night Football. And
these will both go up on Tuesday.
You're going to put them both up? The score is 3-2 at the half. That's all.
Yeah.
I'm just going to leave it at that.
Sammy Sleeves was playing, and it looks like that our boy Case Keenum is I saw him in at some point in the first half. Okay. I don't know if Sammy Sleeves got hurt again, but let's get back to basketball.
Okay, Jordy. I'm gonna cut my ramblings off on the Sixers.
We're gonna move on.
Entire bottle of wine. It's been too much for me. Just a lot. NBA Finals. Pick your two teams. What are they? Are we having a 4-peat?
Yep. Warriors Cavs round 4.
All right.
I think it's hard to not think if you put those great teams together that just formed in the West and Eastern Conference. Mm-hmm. You're a lot more likely to say the Cavaliers don't do it. That Warriors team is too fucking good.
They're too good.
They're too goddamn good.
Kevin Durant was too much. They have to lose a piece. They're going to lose Clay.
Yeah, they're going to lose Klay Thompson.
So will that drop them down, do you think? Is Steph and Durant enough, or do they need that Clay piece?
Clay's a good compliment to Steph. I mean, they're not the Splash Brothers for nothing, but Draymond Green, as long as he's not kicking people in the dick more.
Or sending dick pics.
Even though he never got suspended for that. But, I mean, you have everybody else that's hanging around that team, that support staff. Everybody wanted to say, oh, you lost Andrew Bogut. You lost Harrison Barnes. You lost this person. You lost that person. None of that mattered. You just next man up. You added another person. I think that Warriors team is really, as long as you have Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, 3 of the top 15.
Yeah.
And really 2 of the top 5 with maybe number 12 in Draymond Green.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or I don't really rank players. I'm not Bill Simmons. On their team, I mean, the sky's the limit for them.
Yeah.
The ceiling is the floor.
I'm going to go outside the box. I'm saying Warriors, Wizards. I'm into the Wizards this year for some unknown reason.
Oh, man.
I love John Wall. I'm into it. It might be that entire bottle of green. That might be it.
White wine from Australia gives you crazy ideas.
But I'm ready for LeBron to cut it. I think Kyrie's a big part of that Cavaliers offense. And there was a reason they lost him, and something wasn't working. And I think it might fall apart a bit. And I just love John Wall, so I'm going to go Warriors, Wizards. You can tweet at me when I'm wrong, but only tweet me love for the Sixers or I'm going to get really mad.
Our eternal adversary, Colin Cowherd, did and tweet out the middle finger emoji at those people.
Yeah,
can't pull that kind of stuff. Us tonight, we appreciate you listening to both parts. If you have not listened to the West yet, go listen to that. Great stuff. We recorded that first, obviously. Mm-hmm. But Emily, any other thoughts? Any other comments, concerns?
No, go Sixers. I'm ready to see you at home on October 20th, and hopefully it'll be 1-0 against my Eastern Conference winners, the Washington Wizards. And I'm just ready for it, and I love basketball.
Is it a home and home?
No, they're at the Wizards on Wednesday or Thursday, and then they open at home on Friday.
So it's a home and home.
It's a home and home.
You play one team at their place.
No, they don't play the Wizards on Friday. No. Not a home and home.
I was about to say, it's also interesting that both the Flyers and the Sixers would open up their home schedules against Washington.
No.
They have nothing to do with one another, but interesting thought.
But I'm just ready for the Sixers season. I'm ready for Joe to be healthy. because I just want as many people in America to experience Joel Embiid as I've experienced Joel Embiid as a season ticket holder, because I feel like he loves me and I love him.
Well, he's a wonderful person. But if you want more Emily, go check her out at thirdandgoal.com. It has all of the social media handles that you need for her. You know ours, but I'm going to run through them. ThunderBLG is Twitter. Thunderblog Sports for both Instagram. ThunderblogSports.com, of course, the website. And as always, please like, share, subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. That'll do it for us, for thirdandgoal.com's Emily Anderson. I am Jordy Cannell, the G-Man. Have a great night, everybody. Happy basketball is back. Go Sixers.